Hey, welcome back to my channel. In this video, I'm going to be highlighting some of my favorite travel palettes. I'll go through some of their pros and cons, but ultimately just showing you what's out there and what the options are if you want to travel with them. Everything will be linked down below in the description. This is a travel palette art haul, if you like, gathered over many art hauls and sponsored by me, myself and I. As you may know, I love to urban sketch, I love to do plein air painting, and for the most part when I first started off I was using the main palette that I had, and that is this one, the Winsor and Newton 45 pan set. And I love this palette. You will have seen in my like painting prettiest cafes in London video that I use this palette quite a lot, but one of the glaring, I guess, issues or drawbacks is just the size of it. Now, did it stop me using it? Absolutely not. But in this video I want to review palettes that are a lot smaller and that are more fit for purpose when it comes to traveling. So this one is 286, bearing in mind it's missing at least 12 half pans, so it's normally 340 grams full. I'm going to start with the most expensive slash the, I guess, fanciest ones and then move my way down, just so that you know what options there are out there. So I still can't look at this without smiling, and this is essentially the Fraser price palette box, brass palette box. It comes in a beautiful presentation box, just in case you're thinking about gifting it to someone. I gifted it to myself. And then when you open it, one of the things that stands clear is that it has a hole for the thumb. I'm never quite sure which way. Yeah, I think it's this way. So it has a hole for the thumb, and it's designed to be both right and left-handed, although I actually think it works better if you're left-handed. It then has this pot which allows you to add water. It comes with this, which is a water bottle that also doubles as a mixing palette. And then it can take 18 half pans or 9 full pans in these slots here, which also comes out. It has plenty of mixing space, as you can see. And in terms of like pros and cons, and I know some of them I haven't used yet, so I can't give like a full review, but just giving first impressions. Because it's brass, it's slightly heavier than other palettes and it weighs 250 grams. Benefits. One of the benefits I like is that there is plenty of mixing space. In terms of presentation and wow factor, it's pretty much up there. There's none that there are none that look as pretty as this, in my opinion. In terms of potential drawbacks, if you're thinking about getting this, one is that the plastic is a bit flimsy. So it's fit for purpose, it will work, but it's just a shame that with all the attention to detail that went with everything else, there are some things that let it down, such as this flimsy plastic here. And also, again, this is fit for purpose, it will work, but again, it's pretty like flimsy plastic. If I wanted to break it, I could. I won't, but I could. The bottle's a little bit sturdier, but I think part of the reason that they did that is to, I guess, make it lighter. In answer to everyone's burning questions, so 250 grams without the paint. So probably with the paint, let's see how much one weighs. So probably full, this would weigh 300 grams. The thumb hole for me doesn't make the most sense, so I probably wouldn't necessarily use it because it's not comfortable to keep my hand like that. But if I don't use it, then this mixing space almost becomes null and void because the paint will just seep off the edge, because unlike these ones, it doesn't stand up on its own. It has some clever hacks like this right here, means so that when you put it down on a table, it's nice and flat and nice and level. If you put something here to like hold it in place, then that in theory would work. So that's, I guess, a way to get around it. It doesn't have a slot for a travel brush, nor does it come with a brush. The set that I got actually comes with the paints, I just haven't put them in yet. And the other thing to mention is because it's brass, it's not magnetic. So if you have a lot of magnets in your setup like I do, then this wouldn't necessarily be the best option. To be perfectly honest, I got it because it's absolutely stunning and I wanted it to be a gift to myself, something that I can hold on to, something that will last a long time. Because it's brass, it will not rust, so it will stand the test of time. And I think that there are simple modifications that I can do to make it exactly what I want it to be. This is absolutely stunning. It does also happen to be the most expensive palette, which currently retails for around £100. With the paints, it's a bit more, and as I said, I got it with the paint but on sale, so it was a bit cheaper for me. The next palette is this one. So you will have seen that I've already kind of mentioned this and highlighted this. It's a Winsor and Newton field box, designed in a very clever way. So this bit comes off and doubles up as a cup for water. It opens up like this, and then like here and like here, and then there it is. So this is a lot lighter than the brass box. To be extra, I'll weigh this, and this actually weighs 150 grams full. It comes with the paints. It comes with a tiny travel brush that we've already established I'd struggle to use, but I still keep that. Also comes with this, so a flask for water that you can just fill up and then use to fill up on there. And if you were painting, like say on your lap and you wanted everything together, then this actually slots in there at the end. It does have a thumb ring at the back, but I think it's a bit temperamental because of when I was buying it, the one that I was going to buy had a broken ring, and then they brought out another one which again had a broken ring. So that's this at the back, which again had a broken ring. And then they brought out another one, which I think was this one, and that was fine. So quite a few of them were broken. It fits 12 half pans, but in theory, as you can see, this one can slide there and there. So in theory, it could actually fit 2 more. So I think it could fit 14 half pans quite nicely. Pros and cons, again, it's not magnetic, but it is super light. Like, it's one of the lightest palettes. I love the ergonomic design. I love the fact that you can carry water. In theory, you can't carry your own separate brush in here. And it does come with its own tiny brush if you want that. It can fit 14 rather than 12 half pans. Just have some glue dots so that it stays steady. It has 3 mixing spaces. It has a ring at the back, which is nice, which just makes it easy to carry. And yeah, I think it's actually one of my favorite palettes. So prices on this vary wildly. Yes, when I got it, it was not only £39, but then also on sale. So it ended up being a lot cheaper. So I was quite lucky in that respect. This set, the colours that are included are lemon yellow, Windsor yellow, yellow ochre, raw sienna, alizarin crimson, Windsor red, burnt sienna, Chinese white, Windsor blue, French ultramarine, permanent green, and ivory black. So I must say, I don't find this colour palette to be the most inspiring, but in theory it has what you need. So I wouldn't have got this specifically for the professional watercolours. I got this because it was on sale and it was actually cheaper than getting the Cotman set, and I thought the colours would be okay. So if I had to pick between getting the Cotman version or getting the professional version, then I think I would be very much led by price. If you're enjoying the content, then don't forget to hit the like button and to subscribe if you want to see more like this, as it makes a massive difference to my channel, and it also lets me know that I'm not talking to myself, which is always a nice thing. This is the Van Gogh set, and if you've been around for a while, then you know that I love this set. This is the reason that I basically did not quit painting when I started off, because I initially started off painting with really terrible watercolors, and then I got this set for 15 to 20 pounds, and it was just so much better, and as a result I felt more encouraged and I continued. So I actually finished or almost finished that set, and this is a new one which actually comes with 3 extra paints. It is made of plastic, so again, like the last one, not magnetic. It doesn't have like a hook or anything to hold it at the back, but it's relatively big, so you could probably just hold onto it yourself, and I normally did. It comes with a tiny brush, a size 6 brush, which, to be fair, I think is slightly bigger than the one that comes with the Winsor and Newton set. This at the back, it's not actually broken, although it looks that way. It's there to help you remove this, which exposes another mixing area, or actually remove the pans if you wanted to change them as well. How much does it weigh? 160 grams full. It comes with the colours Chinese white, quinacridone rose, Prussian blue, which I love, burnt umber, Payne's grey, which I love, permanent lemon yellow, permanent red light, ultramarine deep, sap green, yellow ochre, azo yellow medium, madder lake deep, cerulean blue or phthalo blue, viridian, and burnt sienna. So all in all, I love this colours. I love the set. In terms of pros and cons, I guess cons is that it does take up a bit more retail space compared to some of the other palettes that we'll go through. It's not magnetic, but again, that could be easily rectified by buying like little dots of metal to stick so that you can make it so if you wish. It is student grade set, so you know, in terms of light fastness and everything else, that will be an issue of its own. But in terms of the set itself, I think it's quite good. I do think Another potential con is that in theory, the set doesn't have to be this big. Like, there's a lot of space wasted. It just doesn't need to be that way. So if the plastic around it wasn't set in stone and it is made of like sturdy plastic, then you could probably get more inside. So that would probably be the only other con. In terms of pros, I love the color selection. I love the extra mixing space and the fact that it's like deep wells that are divided. So again, your colors and your mixes are going to stay nice and safe and protected rather than sliding into each other. 6 mixing spaces plus an extra big one at the bottom. Next one is this palette. Now you will probably know that I love this palette. This is my gouache palette that I got from Jackson's, and it took a lot of time to find, and thankfully I found it or discovered it through Creating Cute Art's YouTube channel. I then also saw it on Sarah Burns's YouTube channel and I fell in love with it. Now, although I put gouache in it, there is no reason why in theory I couldn't use it for watercolor. It's a stay wet palette that has its own kind of silicone mold, and the aim of it is to keep the paints inside wet. That is one of the pros that I think the others don't have. So if you wanted your watercolors to stay nice and wet, then this would be perfect because it would allow you to do so. I personally, I prefer pans, or I prefer turning my tubes into pans, but in theory there's no reason that I couldn't do that in here as well. But for gouache, A1. This is like one of my favorite palettes. A few people have asked whether it can be used with like acrylic gouache, and to be perfectly honest, I don't know. It's marketed as an acrylic / watercolor / mixed media, but for me it's just not the case. In terms of cons, as has just been demonstrated, this latch, so I struggled for the longest time with this latch. First of all, I couldn't take it off. I would always struggle on and off camera to open it up. This looks like a Rubik's cube, no? Okay, so moment of truth. Oh my gosh, it's really gosh. Okay, it's not. I think
much later.
I honestly think it's because I'm on camera. Give me 1 second. What the? Then now it became super easy. Like, look at that. Super easy. And one of them has actually snapped off. Now, is it a massive issue? Probably not for me, because it's such a tight fit with that like rubber that's keeping it wet that it doesn't actually open for me. That being said, it's in theory not as secure as it should be. Again, I just think I love things that have like a clever design. So this slots in here. Bearing in mind it has like gouache paint, quite a bit of it. It's 190 grams. So I've also added magnets at the bottom because it helps with my travel painting setup, and if you want to know more about that, then check out the video that I'll link up above. Next up we have this one. So this is like a cute, adorable Winsor and Newton palette, and it's a Cotman set, and it's basically the equivalent of the Van Gogh set that I showed you. And as you can see, this fits 12, but it is so much smaller, so adorable. Gotta love that little bit of gold. It has 12 half pans. It again comes with that infamous tiny brush. It does have a groove for a brush, so if you have a travel brush that's of similar slenderness, you can fit that in here. And it has 3 separate divided wells with like a high ridge, so again it just separates and protects those mixes so that your colors don't get muddy unintentionally. The colors that come in this set, and they are out of order, I'm sorry: lemon yellow, cadmium yellow hue, cadmium red pale, alizarin crimson, ultramarine, cerulean blue, viridian hue, sap green, yellow ochre, burnt sienna, burnt umber, and Chinese white. In terms of weight, let's call it 95 grams. So it's the lightest one that we've had thus far. In comparison with this set, which, to be perfectly honest, the 12 pan set is exactly the same size. It's just that it has this bit in the middle blocked off. My original one was the 12 pan size, which is the same size, and you can see this is a lot bigger. So this is what I mean by this palette does not have to be this size. Now, if you like the fact that you have in theory twice as many mixing wells, then the fact that it's big isn't a big issue. If you want to exchange your half pans, you can. They are all standard half pans, as is the case with all the palettes that I've shown you so far. If you wanted to add full pans though, you can't do that, and that is one of the negatives about having pans that have like predefined half pan sizes inside them, as these cases do. If you wanted to add a full pan to this one, then you can, but with these you cannot. It's not uncommon for this to happen, and if it does, just put it back in, and then when you wet it, eventually with time they'll get stuck into their pans. Or you can take it out, add a bit of water there, add a bit of water, put that down, and then again paint with it and it will be okay. Or some people do sticky dots, but I don't like that. In terms of prices, this one is currently like £12.50. This one normally is around 15-ish pounds, and this one for the student grade version is normally £38. It's normally around £40, whereas for the professional version it is normally £60 to £70. That being said, I got it on sale, so I was very, very fortunate. Next, this tin I got from Amazon, quite easily accessible. It's just a metal tin that comes with a ring at the back. In theory, is marketed as being able to fit 12 half pans, but I'll show you can fit more. One of the reasons that I love this is because they are magnetic, so when I use my magnets, I can just fix them in place and paint with them. Because I use my magnets when I'm doing like my plein air setup, and it just fixes this in place. As I mentioned, it's marketed as being able to fit 12 half pans, but as you can see, I actually ended up fitting 20, so it does have mixing spaces. In terms of like this bit, yeah, it does get mixed up, so it's more a question of you know it won't be completely separated, so it's easier to get muddy colors. And here's more protected, so that works out quite nicely. This slants down, but it has like some nice grooves here, so 4 grooves here to kind of protect it from coming off the edge, and the edges are rolled all apart from here, which is a tiny bit sharp, but at least it's not all exposed like some of the other palettes I've seen. If you want to see the colors that I actually have in this, then you should check out my Daniel Smith palette video, because I basically go through the colors that I put in here, and then the rest of the colors, or the full kind of palette discussion, is actually in my how to travel with watercolors or how to travel with paints video. And that's because I was going to Venice, and that is what influenced the colors that I picked for this palette. So just kind of discussing that. So it's full, and it is 177, so call it 180 grams. I think this a lot of the time is like 10 to 15 pounds empty. It only comes with, I think, 12 to 50 empty half pans, but no paints. Now, an alternative is this, which is just a tiny tin, and to be perfectly honest, it doesn't have to be a Winsor and Newton one. This I think is for their watercolor sticks, but it can be like, I've seen some people use Altoid tins, or like just any tiny tin, and you just open it like that, and it's just a good way of having your half pans in here. So you can use a glue dot to stick them in. I don't tend to use this method, which is why like it's not stuck in. I just kind of used it for demonstration, but in theory, if I wanted to like really go minimal with my set, then I could just stick 12 half pans in here and be on my way with that. And the fact that it's Winsor and Newton on the outside, I think just makes it extra special and extra cute in terms of retail space. So for example, all of these are marketed as being for 12 half pans, although some of them can take more. This is like so tiny in comparison. The obvious drawback is that there is no mixing space on this. If you really wanted to, you could try to use here, but I personally wouldn't do that. This one is 20 grams empty, plus probably another 50 for the grams. Is 70 grams, if not less. These are a bit different, but I guess they are fit for purpose when it comes to thinking about traveling, and they are the Viviva color sheets. So they are sheets of essentially paper that are saturated with watercolors, and I've done an entire separate video just highlighting the pros and the cons and how they work and all the intricacies. But yes, it is definitely an option. Sometimes you just want to have more than 20 half pans with you, or more colors, and that is where this can come in handy. So this is again easily accessible through Amazon, and I will include all the links down below. It's marketed as being able to carry 24 half pans, but I think realistically it could carry 36 quite comfortably. You can get them in different colors. For example, I'm waiting for like a rainbow one to become available, like this one. It also has a ring at the back, and it works with magnets, so again it's perfect for my setup. And one of the other things worth mentioning is that if, for example, you want to carry something different, so you want to carry tubes, then this will work quite nicely for you as well. So this is my core collection, which was kindly gifted to me by a lovely subscriber, and she also gave me this tin, which again which again, I'm still in awe and still can't believe. But yes, if you want to carry your tubes with you, then this is a good way to do that. And it also almost doubles as a pencil case, so I could have my brushes in here, I could have a pencil in here, maybe a Posca pen as well, and this would end up being a compact way of carrying my paints and having a palette and going around. Normally they come with like a metal insert like this one, which is where the half pan slot into it. I glued this one down because I didn't want it wriggling around, and it didn't come in this one. But in theory, when you get them, you have the option of removing them and having an extra mixing space underneath. But that's an alternative. If you are interested in doing more plein air and you want to know how to travel with art supplies and how to not get your supplies thrown away at the airport, etc., then definitely check out this video. If you have any additional questions, then by all means feel free to let me know. I'm more than happy to answer them. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next week. Bye. If you're still watching, then you are most definitely a real MVP, and I really appreciate you. So thank you so much. Let me know that you're still watching by telling me, in the spirit of plein air and traveling, whereabouts in the world you are at the moment, so that we can all see where we are connecting from all over the globe. I actually think I can't do this. Now that I know that half of you are like neat palette owners, I feel like I just need to tidy this up a little bit. Hold on. Okay, not perfect, but at least a little bit more respectable.